Good afternoon everyone, and welcome here to the beautiful Sabi Sands Game Reserve in South Africa. I'm just going to say hello quickly in the shade here. It's quite hot this afternoon. We've got sort of summer weather back again. This morning I was saying how it feels like winter. We had a bit of wind, it was nice and cool, and this afternoon certainly is hot again. But there's also going to be hot wildlife, so I'm sure you can enjoy it with us. And just to start the introductions, my name is Peter Pretorius. Pleasure to have you on the vehicle as my guest. And behind the camera we have Brian, known as many other things as well, the Ninja, and he's going to be showing you around. And Nikki and Tara, sorry, I was concerning Cole, but Nikki and Tara in final control. And it's going to be a hot afternoon and more than just the temperature. At the moment I'm guessing at about 31, 32 degrees. Give or take around 90 degrees Fahrenheit. The reason why I say so is if you missed this morning's drive, we had a very exciting morning. We started the walk again, and it not only was good fun, but it paid off immediately as well. We had a fantastic experience, Stefan and Scott finding leopard for us, and then obviously seeing the leopard. And interesting news around that as well. I'm going to show you and tell you more about that in a bit. HT is out there as well, hot afternoon like this. I'm expecting lots of buffalo around the waterholes, possibly lots of elephant. Maybe some other leopard, maybe this one. We hope he's still around. It's not a definite, so we're going to see that very shortly, and we're just going to enjoy it. Keep in mind, as on any normal game drive in the bush, we're going to see exciting things. It's going to be happening real and fast as it happens, but in between, when we're just driving, it's always nice to have a conversation. You are more than welcome to let us know something, send a comment, interesting fact. It's really nice to hear some interesting points as well sometimes, as well as obviously asking questions. You can do so by sending it through on Twitter by using the hashtag #SafariLive, or you can send in questions at WildEarthTV. Simple, straightforward, have a conversation with us, say hello. And I think that's it. As I said, we're going to just go back into the sun because we can. And we're just around the corner, we're not far from there. We are going to see if that leopard that we ended off on the morning drive is still around. If you've missed the morning, let me give you a quick sort of catch up on that, or a quick background on that. The leopard we saw this morning was Q, young male leopard, about 2.5 years old, and what was really fascinating is he had caught a kudu female, a kudu cow. Now kudu is one of the larger antelopes here. We're estimating her around 120, 150 kilos. That's 300, 350 pounds. So a very large kudu, something that, or a prey or a carcass now, that would weigh around 3 times its own weight. So that's a very big hunt for a young leopard, both in physical size, but also in terms of the accomplishment of it. A clear sign that this cat is ready to, be fully independent, which he really is already. He is independent. The only thing is, at the moment, he doesn't have to concern himself with territorial males and possible danger from other leopard, because he's still within the territory of his mother Karula and his father, to an extent, who is a male called Vula. Karula, just by the way, we always use the name. Karula is the Shangar name meaning peaceful, tranquility, to be calm. Lots of sticks here. Mvula, his father's name, means rain, also in Shangar. Okay, the carcass is still here. Starting to smell it a bit now as well. Let's just show you quickly so that you know what we're talking about. Let's try and give you a slightly better angle than that. I haven't seen a leopard yet. I hope he's still around, although I'm pretty sure he is. This amount of food, it'd be strange if he's left. There you go. Just there. Starting to get that nice sort of ripe smell of a carcass in the sun. And there's a lot of food left. In fact, so much food that this leopard, even if nothing comes and steals it from him, so if hyenas or lion or wild dogs or any of those things don't come and steal this food, I don't think he's going to finish it. It's just too much. So there's already some food we know for the hyenas as well, for instance. Kudu female, this would be the size of a large deer. As I said, about 150 kilos would be a pretty good estimate for her weight, 300 odd pounds. Now the big question, which I know all of you are wondering or thinking about, is this leopard still here? Let's see if we can find him. Now typically, let's just have a look around here. If you were to come to look for a leopard, which is exactly what we're doing now, we know there's a carcass, we're expecting that he's around, but look at this, there's no big trees really for him to hide the carcass in, it's too big anyway. And then looking at this habitat in general, you can see there's not many leaves around. I've mentioned to you, it is quite hot. So logical places to look would be in the shade. And I would say that the most likely place is probably that tree right there. All the other bushes around this area are quite sort of empty of leaves now, not really creating much shade. So that would be the first logical place to check, even if we didn't know that he was under the tree this morning. So we do know that from experience. But just if we're arriving here with no expectations other than that someone told us there is a kill. You look around, you sort of add the little pieces of logic together. But let's see. He might have gone for a drink. Treehouse Dam is not that far from here. Leopard often go and drink during the middle part of the day because he doesn't want to attract attention to when he comes back here. I'm not seeing... Yes, I can see a leopard. Hey. Shall we come back later? Do you guys want to have a look?
Yeah,
okay, let's have a look. Let's have a look. All right. One of my favorite leopards ever. HD's favorite leopard. And a truly beautiful cat, huh? I don't think I've ever arrived at a leopard sighting and not just been a little bit sort of mind blown by it. The fact that we can sit so close to such a beautiful cat, so relaxed with our presence, that is something really beautiful. This is something we talked about this morning as well. We've just seen the carcass. Excuse me. We just saw the carcass back there. As I said, there is a lot of food. The biggest danger for this leopard is something coming to steal that food from him. Not danger, but the biggest danger for him to lose the food. And I know this morning we discussed it, and some of you at the moment are talking about it on the vehicle as well. I can actually hear you chatting to each other about it. And why hasn't he taken that carcass up? Oh, look at those teeth. Those canines, very important for grabbing hold of that kudu. We'll actually talk about the hunt just now as well. Why hasn't he taken that carcass up a tree, or for that matter just even under a tree, just to hide it from potential vultures? I think simply it's just too big for him. Oh, he's a beautiful cat. Sure. Really beautiful leopard this. He's got a nice square face, sort of the poster child, if you want, for a young male leopard. So I just think that is simply just too big for him. Up a tree would be difficult. Not impossible. I mean, leopards do take bigger things than themselves up trees, but it would be quite difficult. Plus, there's no really good trees for it around here. The closest tree from that carcass that's big enough to hold a carcass that size is probably a good 100 yards away. And to drag it that far, in fact, even to drag it just under a bush, which is something you find lions doing quite often, to avoid the vultures seeing it, even that I think might be a bit difficult for him. So maybe if he eats a bit more, but I would say by tonight and certainly by tomorrow this would have been discovered by something else. More than likely, most likely, hyenas, because they've got a den not far from here. They patrol most of these roads every night, and they just have to walk on the right side of the wind. As I said back there, it is starting to get quite a strong smell. Hyenas will smell that from kilometers away. So I think his sole access to that food might run out by sunset tonight. Around then, if he's lucky, maybe a couple of hours later. Exactly what we just talked about. Heidi, you're just wondering, you were sitting in Burlington last night listening to the Djuma camera, the WildEarth camera, looking at it, and you could hear lots of hyena calling. And yes, they are close by. In fact, their den is even closer to where we are right now than the waterhole. So in a straight line, I don't think much further than at most half a mile, 700-800 meters, something like that, maybe not even a kilometer, I think. So it really is close. Giving lots of yawns there. Yawns can sometimes be a sort of a passive-aggressive display, so it can be a way to show that, listen, look at my teeth, don't mess with me. But other times it can also just be to get a bit more energy, a bit more oxygen, which I guess sort of comes down to energy in the end. I find my energy drops when I don't get oxygen. You can see he's quite warm, quite hot, panting a little bit. Look at his throat, you can see the rapidness of his breathing. And having the mouth open like that, he's actually cooling the air down, using the saliva and things in his mouth, so evaporative cooling. And also he's quite full, he would have eaten quite a bit of kudu by now. So again, the diaphragm just can't breathe as deeply as normal, so a little bit shallower breathing. I was saying earlier we should just sort of talk a little bit, to hypothesize a little bit about this kill. Now, from the habitat and terrain, this would have been a sort of a straightforward hunt, you know, stalking, using concealment, getting close enough to pounce and get hold of the kudu. It wouldn't have been a long chase, I think. In this kind of terrain, sort of shrubby, you know, medium-sized bushes, kudu are extremely well developed for it. They can jump 2 meters high without a problem. 6-7 feet jumps, they can clear bushes. Very, very quick at turning and twisting. So if the kudu had any bit of time to run, it would have been able to outrun the leopard. So it would have been a very good stalk and then a quick bounce. And in the case of that large kudu, it would have had to have been grabbed by the throat, normally quite close to the head itself, and then using those big canine teeth that we could see during the yawns just now. Those canines aren't actually used for eating. They're used for grabbing on or holding on, and they can either grab onto the throat and suffocate the prey, or they can also bite into the neck of the prey, especially a sort of medium and smaller size antelope, and they can actually sever the spinal cord if those teeth bite in between the vertebra. So one of those two options, I mean, we can try and have a look just now when we get to the kudu, but I'd be about 99% sure that it would have been a stalk, quick pounce, look at those teeth, and then a suffocation kill. Also, it's nice and quiet, doesn't make a lot of noise, doesn't attract attention from other predators. But you would have had this leopard probably for a good minute or two, literally hanging off the throat of that kudu, because she's big enough to have stood up with him and carry the weight. Well, coming back to that hunt there, Tim, you're asking, from Arkansas, asking which is the faster, a leopard or a cheetah? Okay, sorry Tim, I didn't quite hear you right there. A leopard or a hyena? Well, in that case I would say leopard. Oh, look at this. Stunning. You might go back for a bit of eating again. Oh, they are just so beautiful. I wonder how many times I've said that when looking at a leopard. I just can't help myself, because it's the first thing and the last thing that comes into my mind. It's just like, wow, I can't believe I'm sitting here looking at that. You know, it's like it's a dream sometimes. And I've done this a lot in my life, and it's still like that. So I often try and imagine it must be amazing for you. Maybe this is the first leopard. Let's see, is there anyone on drive today this is the first time they've seen a leopard in the wild? Let us know, please, if this is your first time, or one of your, sort of early times, first or second, third time that you've seen a leopard in the wild. Please let us know. Again, you can use the hashtag Safari Live. Sorry, I'm driving through some African savannah here as well. Or you can send it to questions at WildEarth. But I think maybe just on Twitter is the quickest. Hashtag Safari Live. Well, we talked about it. That's what he's trying to do. He's trying to move that carcass, and he's getting it almost right. I'm not going to go too close to him. I just want to give him a minute or two and then we'll go closer again. Tim, but just quickly to finish your question about the hyena and the leopard. A leopard would be faster. A hyena would be able to run further, so he'd be able to outrun the leopard distance-wise. But in terms of reaction speed and moving and quick sprints, a leopard would be much faster. Another seat, another view. And guys, again, we're looking forward to hearing from you that those of you that this is your first leopard or one of the first leopards ever you're seeing. We are also spoiled that in this area that we're in, Sabi Sands, to sit like this next to a leopard. It's not common. You can do this in any part of the world. Only in places where they've really been growing used to people's presence being non-threatening to them. This is just unbelievable. It's amazing. Yo. Question, just sort of coming out of Twitter there again, sort of in the conversation. I love it when there's just conversation on the vehicle as well, you know, people are talking about things themselves, because this is what it's about, experiencing it, sharing the experience, wondering about a few things, figuring a few things out, just wondering or asking if it's strange that nothing has found this yet. And I wouldn't say strange. I'm pretty sure this kill was made possibly even after sunrise this morning. So into the morning a little bit, so when most other predators would have started settling down already. I think that would have played a role. But as I said, getting closer to sunset and certainly into early evening, I think that could change quite fast. Look at what he's doing. We're talking about the teeth just now. Those canines, very important also for gripping, as he was doing just now. Just listen a bit. I'm going to talk about it again just now, but just listen. Guys, that's great. If you've just joined us, I want to be quiet every now and again, and you must just listen. And I've just got some great feedback there from some of you that you could hear that. You could hear the cutting sound, and I'm going to talk about it again just now. I'm very glad that you can see this, because it's beautiful. I'm very glad that you can hear. You might even hear an odd fly now and again. And in this particular case, I'm also very glad that you can't smell this, because then I wouldn't be able to sit here. It's got a definite smell of dead animal here as well, so I don't think everyone would have necessarily enjoyed the smell aspect of this. but certainly the view and the sounds are amazing. Well, there's a great view. You can see the stripes on the body of the kudu. Not every day you see a leopard eating a kudu. Not even a big male leopard, not even a mature male leopard. Never mind a young male like this guy. So this is a very formidable kill for him, and well done. Q, we're all very happy for you. I know there was some talk that Q never kills big things or that he can't hunt or something like that, which I know was done sort of tongue-in-cheek, but this is a phenomenal hunt for him. A phenomenal view for us. Just look at where we're sitting, and we are let me just exactly, that's about 6, I'd say we're about 10 foot away from him, 12 feet maybe, less than 4 meters. I'm going to tell you about those teeth just now. Julia, great question, and this actually ties in beautifully to what we were talking about just now, or going to be talking about now, and that is the teeth. So as I said earlier, this leopard would have used the canines, those long teeth, for the kill or for the hunt. Either sometimes to sever the spinal cord, but most of the time to suffocate, especially for leopards. Suffocation is great, and if you look very carefully, you can actually see the marks right there, just there. You can even see the way the neck is tilted. I mean, he's pulled his carcass a bit now, but this was definitely by suffocation. Can you see the texture there? I'll just point it out again if you've missed that. Just that area there. In fact, you can even see the one hole from the canine tooth where it went in, and that leopard would have just held on there for dear life. That kudu would have stood up and tried to shake him off and try to jump and try to move, but he would have just held on. And as I said earlier, your energy levels drop quickly if you don't get oxygen, and that's exactly what would have happened. Kudu have just slowly would have gotten weaker and weaker and dropped down to the front legs, trying to hold up, drop down to the back legs, and the leopard would just hold on. And then those whiskers start playing a very important role. If you look very carefully, you can see how long those whiskers are for the leopard. While they're biting onto the prey, those whiskers come forward a little bit, and they would actually be touching the neck of the kudu, and they'd be feeling the drumbeat of the heart. And as he's choking it and as he's holding on, you would feel that heartbeat just getting a little bit weaker and a little bit weaker until it stops. And then he'd hold on a little bit more until he's sure there's no heartbeat, and he would know that. He would feel it in his whiskers. And then he'd know that he's got the food. So that is, that's how it would have gone down. Now, to stay with the teeth, those canines would have been very important for holding on, or for grabbing the carcass just now as we saw, to try and pull it further. But when it's eating, and we could hear him just now chewing, and if we get another opportunity, I'll be quiet and you must listen carefully. He's chewing with its side of the jaw, the side of the mouth. You could see it beautifully a bit earlier. Oh, he's getting into the intestines there. Maybe he's might be pulling out the heart just now. We'll have a careful look. Maybe we can make out what he's getting out there. The heart, the kidneys, the liver, highly sought after pieces of food. It's got vitamins and minerals and things in it that's valuable more so than just meat. I can tell you a few funny stories about having watched predators eating fresh kills, you know, when they're getting the internal bits. One of the things they eat, for instance, is the bladder. I've seen it a few times with lions. And they pull that bladder out, and I've seen it a few times, they pull it out full. And you can see it's not tasting, and the lion is not liking it, and he bites it until it bursts, and then they eat that bladder sack, and for whatever reason, whatever benefit they get from it, they don't look happy. It doesn't look like they're busy enjoying ice cream, but they eat it. And then they eat the meat and the other things later on. So there is also value in the carcass other than just the actual meat. So we're coming back to those teeth. It's called the carnassial shears. The teeth on the side of the jaw, there you can see him pulling. Look at that. Yo. Such strength, huh? Those side teeth, the carnassial shears, they are designed to cut like scissors, like scissor blades, cutting next to each other, and that enables them to cut into the meat through the skin, through the sinews and the tissue, And without that, they wouldn't actually be able to eat the meat. You wouldn't be able to tear the meat off just using your canines. The canines are essentially sort of semi-blunt, you know, how would you put it? The point of the canine is to be able to grab on and hold on. So it's more an anchoring tooth, if you want, or you know, to penetrate into the tissue, but not to tear and to eat into it. And then they use the front teeth. There he's using it now. You see how he's eating a part of the stomach lining there. Between the canines in the front, those little teeth are used for picking off little things or grabbing hold of the bladder or the heart or a piece of skin that he wants to tear away. So it's sort of more precision instrument, a little bit like little pincers. Listen again, listen. Hello, Susie. I think we've sort of been busy answering your question in the last few minutes of discussion. Susie's just asking whether these guys sometimes eat the organs first, and definitely yes, Susie. It's certain parts of the organs, the liver, kidneys, those are sort of highly sought after bits. And then the stomach lining, some of the intestines, bladder, spleen, all that stuff will be eaten, but some of it is really sought after, whereas the rest of it is not necessarily cared for that much. Like the stomach itself, they don't normally eat too much of that unless they're really hungry. This is such a treat as well, to actually see him active. A lot of the time, this time of the afternoon, he would be sleeping, but he's obviously made the kill this morning early. The guy's found it. He'd already eaten some by then, not much, but enough to fill his stomach. He's taken most of the day just to relax and sleep a bit, digest a bit, very important. And now he's ready for another feeding session. So this is pretty much what he'll do. Similar to lions. I mean, lions will stay in the carcass until it's finished. Only thing for this guy is the more of this meat he can put in his stomach, the better for him. Because once the meat's in his stomach, it can't be stolen from him. And while it's lying out here, it can be taken by, if I was a betting man, I would say probably by the hyenas, somewhere in the course of the late afternoon, early evening. We're going to try and be here for that as well. Might be later in the night, but I would say by tomorrow, the chances of him still having this carcass is not very big. Unless he can get into it enough that he can drag it and hide it. But even then, it's going to be difficult to drag it through here. There's lots of these little shrubby, all these things you can see, all these little shrubs. That all makes it very difficult for him to drag it around. It's not like he's dragging it across nice sort of smooth grass plains or something. So in this case, the fact that it's such a big carcass is actually against him making the most of it. I just love the fact that we're sitting so close to him, so intimate, that we can actually hear him chewing like that. It's not always you get that close. I mean, here we are, as I said earlier, we are literally right next to this leopard. Amazing. Not too much cover. It's sort of this sort of general brushy, bushy sort of savanna habitat around us. Lots of combretum, which is this bush right in front of us. That's a red bush willow. A couple of big trees further away, but nothing that would be suitable for hiding this carcass. There we're looking, just the direction you're looking now, that's looking straight towards the hyena den, almost due north of us. He's enjoying this. think anyone enjoys having a full belly. Now, if you're a buffalo or a zebra or an elephant, it's a relatively different task. You've got to spend a lot of time at it. To get enough grass to sustain a big buffalo, bull, or an elephant, or any of those animals, you need to eat many hours a day. But unless there's severe drought conditions, at least you know the food is there. If you're a predator like this, you don't know when the next meal is coming. So when it's there, you've got to make the most of it. And as I said earlier, if it's in your belly, you know it's yours. Good afternoon, Lynn. Good morning, perhaps, in Michigan, but welcome here on the game drive with us. Lynn, you're just wondering, and this is actually a question I've had many times in my guiding years as well. Just wondering if there's something in their stomachs, them being leopard or lion or your large predators, that enables them to eat meat that's rotten and not get sick. Not something in their stomach, so to speak. I mean, it's just how they've evolved, how they've adapted. I mean, omnivores probably have got the most versatile digestive system in terms of being able to digest so many things. If you take things like foxes or jackals or monkeys or baboons, or the best example by far would be us humans. I mean, the amount of things we eat now that wasn't even available to be eaten 10 years ago, never mind 200 or 300 years ago, is phenomenal, and yet we managed to cope with it and still survive. Not necessarily always for the better of our bodies. We can eat a lot of things that's not necessarily good for us, but we can still survive. So I think we can firstly see that the body's ability to adapt to different food sources is phenomenal. Whereas the predators, obviously, this is what they've been eating for the last millennia. This is not new to them, and the meat being a bit rotten is not really a big problem for them. In fact, even more so than people realize sometimes. People always think hyenas are the only ones that scavenge, which is not true. Hyenas are also very good hunters, and at the same time, leopard and lion would very gladly eat old food if it was available. Leopard is difficult unless they can hide it up in a tree, because it's inevitable that it will be taken by a hyena or by a lion. Lion eat food until it's normally finished. So a lion I've seen on some very, very horrible sort of rotten food. Hyenas as well. With leopard, again, if the food is small enough or of a size that they can take it up into a tree, they'll normally finish it in a day or two. So the fact that the chance for it to be up in the tree for a week and really get badly rotten is not really going to happen. But all of them can digest meat that would for humans not really be edible anymore quite easily. Although having said that, on that same note, people living traditional lifestyles, and Hayden can tell you lots about this. He's been traveling around the world over the last many years, living with some incredibly interesting traditional lifestyles, people living in ways that they've lived for a long time. And one of the things that people do often in those conditions, they eat meat that would, for me and you, be considered rotten. And I find that it's just what you get used to. Our Western stomachs can be very flimsy or timid, or I don't know what the right word is. How do you describe it? Meek. There we go. Thank you, Brian. Flimsy stomach. So yes, they can survive fine with it. How lucky were we, huh? Thank you, Q. Just let me say this for the first time ever. That's just so beautiful. Yeah, the way they move, the way they carry themselves, the total awareness to the environment, but at the same time the total nonchalant sort of approach to things, not worrying about it. They know they can cope with anything. Perfectly balanced, perfectly poised. I will say it a million times still in my life. It is unbelievably beautiful to see them. And we arrived here just in the perfect little window. That was almost better than we could have planned it. Whoop, he's gone again. Back in the same shade of spot. I was going to say back in the same spot of shade. That's actually trickier than you might think to say that. So back in the same spot of shade, and I think he's going to stay here. And we're going to move on a little bit. I want to go explore more to the west. I'm hoping that we will be back here later in the afternoon. HT will probably come past here as well to have a look at what this guy's up to. And as we get closer to sunset, I'm expecting for some high drama here in the African bush. So we're going to keep an eye on it. But for now, we're going to make our way out of this. Enjoy the drive with HT, say hello to him, and we're going to have I think, a lot of leopard activity this afternoon and maybe some other stuff as well. Let's go look around. I'll see you in a bit.
Well, folks, we just pulled up at Buffelshoek Dam here. Good afternoon. Welcome to Wild Safari Live from VM on camera and myself, Hayden. Great to be with you. I know that you're with Pete on that beautiful, beautiful leopard. My favourite boy on the whole reserve, Q. And he's got himself one serious meal there, that's for sure. I just wanted to say hi really and catch up and give you a bit of an update from this side. We've just pulled up the Buffelshoek Dam here. We've got a couple of buffalo down there. There's a couple of lovely little birds like fork-tailed drongos and things diving into the water. When we did get down here, there's a couple of kudu as well. So we're just going to park here for a little bit and see what comes down. Really great morning this morning, and really wanted to just bring up a few things and just mention a few things to you. We've got 2 fireside chats coming up this weekend, consecutive days, Saturday and Sunday, at 5:30 both days. We didn't do them this weekend because we're doing a lot of rehearsing for these ones, in the sense of not rehearsing anything other than just getting that really great fire happening and making all the information for you. We want to talk about a few different things. On the Saturday night, we want to talk about sort of the density of predators that are on the reserve. So we're going to be giving you more information. If you want to continue getting information on that, you can go to our Facebook page and get any information that you can. I think Will's going to put up some info about what sort of things we want questions for along the lines of population density. So that'll be great. And then we're going to also, I think Pete's going to talk to you a little bit more about potentially naming Shadow's offspring, Shadow's cub, which will be a great one. And all that information is going to be on the Facebook page. I just wanted to sort of get that out to you, that we will be asking for questions for the fireside chat as well. So it's 2 fireside chats, one on Saturday night and one on Sunday night. What else can I update you on? I can update you on remembering that if you want to talk to us at any point in time, you can tweet us at hashtag Safari Live or questions at WildEarthTV. What we might do is carry on and just make our way around, just tootle around this area for a while and see what we can find. There was a crocodile in here at one point, the guys were telling me. I can't see any sign of him. Every time I pull up, I like to try and check. Sometimes they're so camouflaged, crocodile, they can haul themselves out on the beach, and you really got to cast a good eye around to see them. But I've had a look with the binoculars, cannot see that croc anywhere. I'm not really sure. Sometimes crocodile do move overland considerable distances actually to another waterhole. Excuse the bumps here, folks. So I'm just going to head down in this area through here. Nice little wooded area. got a message from Mandy on email. Hi Mandy, great to have you on board, mate. Really welcome. And I'm not sure if you're a newcomer to Safari Live or you've been with us for a long time. Whichever the way, great to have you on board. Mandy, to answer your questions about when are we broadcasting live on Nat Geo Wild US on TV, it is Saturday and Sunday nights. If you check the website, it'll give you all the exact times, and wherever you are in the States or wherever you are anywhere in the world for that matter, that's the best place to find out all the information. But it's Saturday and Sunday nights, 2 nights in a row, the 9th and 10th of this weekend. So it'll be really great to have you with us watching on Nat Geo Wild. And of course we're broadcasting live on Nat Geo Wild online as well. But those 2 broadcasts will be Saturday and Sunday in the evening, the sunset drives for us here on the 9th and 10th of May. Thanks Mandy, and really look forward to you watching, and keep going with those questions and emails. That's fantastic. So we're just coming down to this area now where this Nkahuma pride came through the other night, last night that was. They went off the reserve this morning, but who knows what's going to happen. It's a movable feast. Sorry, just thought I saw something down there. Ah, yes. Logus gigantus.
Logadal.
Yeah. So really, I just want to have a little bit of a look around this area. Pete's on the other side. I'm going to head over sort of around where Pete was. It's always great to overlap what you do together. That's the beauty of having 2 vehicles on Wild Safari Live. You can just double, you can sort of retrack yourself, and you never know. Like I could drive down here right now and nothing could be here, and then Pete could drive down in half an hour and a leopard could come out. This is the sort of country off here to the right. I just want to show you how so thick that was, and I'll just track along here gently. This is what we were looking for, those line last night in this sort of country, and it's very tricky to see at night and to drive through there at night. We wouldn't have driven through. That's why I let them walk off into the night. We came back around this road to see if we could find them. We heard a couple of kudu vocalizations, warning calls from a kudu, and the lines obviously were detected by the kudu, but they moved onto another reserve this morning. And they will do that. There's transient, they are a non-territorial pride, the Nkahumas, so they're still waiting to get strong enough to establish themselves, and it's a very, very organic thing, the strength of prides and how it goes on, but they were just making their way through here looking for something to eat, possibly, and just keeping on the move. And how wonderful to have Q on that kudu, eh? And that's a big kudu, Pete was telling me, for Q to bring down. I doubt that he'll get that up a tree. Pete's probably been through all this with you, but really, really, really exciting stuff. Kudu female of quite a good size, and really interesting to see him bringing down game that big. But fantastic look. So we just got a message from Gail. Hello Gail, great to have you from Ohio with us. I I omitted to tell you what Facebook page it was. My mistake. I do apologise for that. It's the WildEarthTV Facebook page, and Will and the team will put some information up about the fireside chats and the themes that we're looking for questions on up there. So just wanted to sow the seed for you today. We'll elaborate on it more over the coming days, and we really look forward to having you on board. So thank you so much, Gail. Great to have you with us. Great question. I knew as soon as we gave a little sprinkling of crumbs on this, you wonderful people would all follow on with loads of questions already, and that's brilliant. Gloria on Twitter. Gloria, great question, and Gloria wants to know. You want to know what sex the cub is? It's a little boy, but we'll put information up on Facebook as well on that. So fantastic question, Gloria, and thanks for being with us. So check out the Facebook page at WildEarth.tv, and you get all that information. This time of the day too, folks, you know, it's still very, very hot, and we're around 29 degrees C, 28 degrees Celsius at the moment, about 82 Fahrenheit, and you'll find a lot of the animals will still be in the very cooler parts. And as the afternoon starts to lengthen, the shadows of the afternoon lengthen, we'll start to get some activity. So just to let you know, that's why things are a little bit quiet, or not quiet, but that's animal behaviour for you. That's exactly how it works. Perfectly normal. But sometimes you get these little anomalies, these little changes where you'll get cues in this heat of the day feeding, but he wants to get that food down as quick as he can because he can't haul it up a tree. Right, now here's an exciting thing. I'm going to just pull up here quickly. Here's a really exciting thing. We're going to cross over to Steph now. Steph and Scott on foot. On foot. That's the most exciting part of it. This is a completely new facet of Safari Live. Another complete angle on the bush. So I really want to cross over to Steph now and see what he's up to. We'll be back with you just now.
Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to this sunset bushwalk with myself, Stefan, and Scott. And we came out this afternoon. We've on our way back from that leopard sighting that we found for you this morning. We found some fresh leopard tracks on the ground, some female leopard tracks, and this afternoon we decided that that was the first thing we were going to come and have a look for. And what we did is we've been crisscrossing the area this afternoon. We've been out for about an hour already, and we decided to come onto this road and bang, right off the cuff, we found some leopard tracks. They are very, very fresh. We are almost expecting the leopard to be leaving these tracks right in front of us. They're smoking hot, as trackers like to say. Here's the track here. We know it's a female because it's quite small, and because of these very distinct edges that it has here and there. So female leopard track size, it's a leopard track because of these three lobes that it has here, and the shape of the track, the lack of claws. And we know that it's very fresh because this substrate here doesn't hold edges very well. It's a very fine substrate, and even as I'm speaking, the wind is blowing over the edge of these tracks and is making it older as I'm looking at it, which means that it's very fresh. Literally laid down within the last 30 minutes or so. I'm going to blow on the track. I'm going to show you how quickly wind can make it old. Just to show you quickly how this works. So it goes from fresh to old literally with a couple of blows. Now, the object of what we're doing here on Bushwalk is to get away from the vehicles and to get away from the lodges and to plug ourselves into the bush. We essentially plug ourselves back into the food chain, and walking is one of the most amazing ways to feel the bush around you and to live with the bush around you. Because you haven't got a vehicle making a noise around you, you're also a lot more in tune to the bush. You can hear things a lot further away, and because you're walking slower, you see details a lot better. Now, because we're away from the vehicles and we're away from the lodges and far away from these, there are some safety concerns, and it is policy that I carry a rifle. The rifle essentially is just a piece of safety equipment, very similar to a seat belt or very similar to a airbag in a car. And you know, while the hope is that you never ever have to use it, and I'm quite glad that we have that option. Now, I'm going to be walking down the road, and I'm going to be pointing out the tracks as I go. So please follow with us as we go, and you'll see what we're looking at as we go down the road.
My finger gives you a bit of scale on it, and that gall is created by a wasp, and what it does is it injects a growth hormone. Now that growth hormone actually causes, it's a very, very hard casing. I don't want to break it off because I'm not sure if it's anything in it or not, but it's super, super hard, and it gives a protective casing for the larva to develop and then hatch and come out. But it's a really interesting little thing that the wasps do, to have that growth hormone that they can inject into that plant, and it sort of causes that bulbous callus gall on the plant. Yeah, very interesting. I really like those trees. They're just like they've got a beautiful leaf on them as well. If you have a look at the light on that leaf, it's really gorgeous. gorgeous. Just give you an indication of the touch of it. It's soft, really soft leaf, that lovely sort of dusky grey colour, and it's really beautiful, beautiful tree. They're quite common, silver cluster leaf, but you know, just like animals, you can't drive past these plants and just think, oh yeah, just because they're common, they're not interesting. They're beautiful. The leaf doesn't really have a smell. It's very, very dull smelling leaf. Some plants have a very, very strong smell, and I know Brent is really, really great with his plants and gives loads and loads of information. Growing up with Shangaan people, he would have learnt loads of things like that growing up. But yeah, I just thought that's interesting. As you see, a lot of people wonder what they are as black, sort of hard casings, but they're galls from wasps, from a growth hormone that they inject. So some of the information that we share, you may have heard of from before, you might have heard from it from Mark or Scott or something like that, but I think it's really important that we sometimes remind ourselves of things, because I have to go over things loads when I come back from 7 months or 8 months away in England, and then coming back to the bush. I've got to remind myself of the names of the trees, the plants, gestation periods, because 3 months ago I might have been in Malaysia doing the same thing, or I might have been in some other part of the world, and it is really tricky. Your mind can only hold so much information, and sometimes if you don't use it, you lose it. But it comes back to you over time, and I really want to start working with you on some of my favourite trees over the coming days. We just had a message from Gwen. Gwen, I'm so sorry that the audio was a little bit jumpy when I first started, and you missed out on the name of the tree. It's a terminalia, or a silver cluster leaf. Silver cluster leaf. And the silver is the name, like, probably derived from that really lovely sheen that it's got to the leaf. It's not a sheen, actually. It's a dull sort of fine hair, but it does look dusky grey, dusky silver. If I come across another one just here, I'll stop for you again just to see it. It's silver cluster leaf, Gwen, and apologies about that missing out on that beginning there. So Gwen, that's that tree just there. I'll just stop before I cross over to Peter. Sorry, VM, just a quick one. Terminalia, lovely, lovely coloured leaf, silvery, dusty grey, and maybe after VM's got that a nice detailed shot for you there, you might be able to just gently pan around to a branch that's been broken on your left, mate, and just down a little bit, down, 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 and left. Down, 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 and you'll see the underside of the leaf a little bit further, mate. Down, down, right below you. There we go. That's been broken by an elephant. You can see the underside of the leaf is quite silvery grey, silver cluster leaf. Right, I think whilst we're just driving through here and having a look at some trees and seeing what else pops up, why don't we cross over to Pete? I think he may have just arrived on Arathusa, so I'm sure he's got something. Pete Pretorius always has something, that's for sure. So we'll see you just now.
Welcome back this side. This is the airstrip. And as I've mentioned before, this is mostly for private planes or private charters, so small planes, 6-seater, 8-seater aeroplanes that fly guests in here. I did get a report from one of the game drives, they had quite a big bull elephant in must heading this way earlier, coming out of the drainage line in this direction. We don't see him now, but we'll keep an eye out. But I do just want to quickly run up to the top. The airstrip, because it's a nice big open area, it's one of the places we see cheetahs sometimes. Typically speaking, this part of the Sabi Sands, northern Sabi Sands where we are, we do get cheetah here, but not very often. It's quite thick. The bush is quite lush. You saw earlier with that leopard, also there where Steph and them were walking, you get the good idea of the habitat. It's not ideal cheetah habitat, but if they do move through here, this is one of the places they often hang out for a bit of time. So it's always worthwhile checking for that, and just for anything else that we might find. So we're just going to run up to the top, have a look around. If we find something great, if we don't, we'll come back down. I want to go look for that elephant and also take us down towards Aratuza waterhole, where I know there's almost certainly going to be hippos, but also it's a big waterhole, it is getting dry, it is quite hot, so any waterhole has got the potential for activity. We're going to follow up on that and see what it brings. I'm driving around with this sort of permanent smile on my face now. We had such a great leopard sighting to start with, so anything from now on is a bonus, even anything like the wind. Guys, we showed you this the other day as well. This is just to prove to you that this indeed is an airstrip. And as you can see, not too much going on. It's just a little breeze, nothing more. Let's see how the game at the moment, but we'll go right to the top. You never know until you get there. At the end I can see 1, 2, there's a few more, a little herd of impala, although they're mostly off here to the right into the bush. We're not going to see much of them. We'll go have a quick stop there, have a look at them. It looks like a bachelor group. The ones I saw further back in the bush must be females or a breeding herd. As we said earlier, the chance for cheetah does exist here, and you guys on Twitter, they're just chatting, say this is actually the last place you did see them. Look here, a couple of bachelor impalas, bachelor males, and this is something that we will be seeing more and more of over the next coming weeks, the mating season or the rutting season. So you'll get it in mainly two groups: breeding herds, which will be made up of females, normally with one dominant breeding male with them. And then all the other males will be in bachelor groups. Always good to be in groups for safety. There's lots of reasons. So there's the practical aspect of being in a bachelor herd, but also it gives you the opportunity to spar with other males, or to horn wrestle, or to arm wrestle if you want, with other impalas. And just get an idea of, listen, am I actually strong enough? Am I fit enough to go and compete against the big males for the opportunity to mate? So the bachelor herds are also sort of practicing groups or training groups for them. Both of these male are in good condition, and they will be certainly competing for the rutting this year and definitely next year when they'll be in their prime. pilots to do their thing. We're going to take another run down the airstrip. See exactly what we saw the last few minutes. Not too much going on, but you never know. Even in the time since then until now, a couple of minutes, things could have changed. Let's have a look down the airstrip, then we go look for an elephant, and then we go down to the waterhole. That's the plan, and of course it can change depending on what we see. Speaking of plans and what's planned, Lisa, good afternoon. You were just wondering if HT and myself will be leaving after the Nigeria shows. Now, we'll get to that just now, but let's talk about the two Nigeria shows, the sort of build-up, if you want, at the moment. In about, today's Wednesday, so in about 3 days' time, coming Saturday and Sunday, we will be doing 2 shows to TV for North America from National Geographic Wild, and they're going to be great, just because something always happens for it. You know, there's a bit of energy around it, and like any drive, I mean, that's the beauty of these drives. And Lisa, you've been on many drives with us. Many of you that's been on many drives, you know this. Every drive has something. So we're looking forward to that. Lots of things happening in between. The walk that's now part of the drive, or part of the experience, or part of the wildlife experience is fantastic as well. So lots of things we're looking forward to. We are going to have 2 fireside chats as well. So Saturday and Sunday, the afternoon drives, the sunset safaris, will be 3 to 6 o'clock, but the actual drive will be 3 to 5:30, which gives us half an hour at the end for a fireside chat. And guys, again, many of you that's been with us for a long time have seen many fireside chats, and I always enjoyed them. It's always been fun. We've had some great visitors over time, and lots of different versions of it. But these ones are probably going to be the 2 most exciting ones to date. No, let me rephrase it. These ones are definitely going to be the 2 most exciting ones to date. I'm very excited. I'm learning many things from Hayden, just in terms of how we're planning it, and from Graham who's down here, and everyone else that's involved. It really is going to be something fantastic. So looking forward to it. And on those fireside chats, while we're on the topic, we will be talking about a few things. We're going to show you a few interesting aspects of what's going on. We're going to sort of just talk about it a little bit. So it's not just going to be giving you sort of academic facts. It's going to be a little bit also just giving you some interpretation and understanding of what's going on. And as part of that, and this is very important, and I hope I phrased it correctly, this is the first time I'm going to sort of throw this out there for you. We will also go into this on Facebook, so again, those of you that are sort of part of this whole team, have a look on Facebook. We will get it out there, I presume, today sometime or tomorrow latest. We're going to be needing some questions from you guys. We are going to answer a couple of questions. It's going to be quite compacted into that half an hour of fireside chat, so we want to make sure we get the best questions possible. And those questions, let me remember if I remember correctly. Remember, the 5th of November. Firstly, we're going to talk a little bit about how interesting it's been coming back now compared to November for HT, myself, and for the guys that have been here permanently on the ground, just seeing that change. And that's surrounding the fact that there's quite a lot of predator activity. Predator in general, we've seen great wild dogs, lots of hyenas obviously having their den in the middle of our area that we drive around in, and also having 2 male leopards that effectively are adult male leopards but still living in their mother's territory. So we've got 2 leopards that we're seeing, as we've seen the last while, almost every day, and that's had a significant impact on the apex predator competition. So hyenas, leopard, lion, and wild dog. And any questions you might have around that, in other words, how does this all fit together? How does this all influence each other? If you have some interesting questions, give it some thought. You don't have to send it through now. We're going to look at those questions over the next while and answer 1 or 2 of those on Saturday's fireside chat. There will also be aspects surrounding Karula and the cubs. There's a few things around Shadow and her cubs specifically that HT will probably talk to you about at some stage. There are going to be a few things we're going to talk about. For now, you put that one in the back of your mind. What do you think, or what questions would you have surrounding this whole apex predator competition that we are seeing around here? But Lisa, as I said, that's building up to the weekend, and HT and myself, yes, we'll be heading out on Monday, but the drives are continuing on. Scott and Stefan, Brent, all the exciting stuff that's going on, and I think this is going to be a good year. Looking forward to it. There'll be some good stuff happening. As we are getting closer down towards Aretusa Dam now. As I said, we were looking for an elephant that could be somewhere here. I haven't seen one. Oh, there's a waterbuck. Nice big male waterbuck. Having a look at us as well. I'm struggling a little bit with my radio comm, so we'll try and get the questions as we can. And unfortunately, I missed your name there, but just asking if I've seen a cheetah. Yes, I've seen many cheetahs on this airstrip. Other reserves as well, obviously, but I think you're referring probably to the Djuma area. And I've had some amazing cheetah sightings over the years of guiding and also with Wild Earth here. The one that I remember the most was actually on this airstrip, and a very good friend of mine, a guy called Gavin Schneider, he runs a big production company in Cape Town, a very good friend. They flew in, him and who's now his wife, it was his girlfriend then, to come and visit at Djuma Bush Lodge, which is now Cheetah Plains. Let me just slide forward there a little bit. And we normally clear the airstrip, make sure there's nothing on there. When the plane came in, I checked it. Plane came in and it sort of took off again without landing, and I went to check, and cheetahs had run onto the runway and were just lying down there, and I had to chase them off with a car for the plane to come around again. And it was a great story afterwards. Gavin's recollection of the plane taking off again without landing and panicking about it, and a great adventure for them on their arrival. Hello Gene, how's it going? So I just thought I saw something, I think it was nothing, but oh, there's sort of nothing, it's a stump, a dead log. Gene, you're asking about antelope, and unfortunately these are female antelope, but let's have a look at them anyway. Kudu, we saw one kudu already today, but it was the one that was busy eating by a lion. There's a couple of females and a young one. Oxpeckers on them, those birds. Gene, you were just asking that in North Carolina where you live, the deer there shed their antlers after rutting season. If it happens here, in Africa it doesn't happen. They don't have the difference between antlers and horns. I mean, there's a lot of sort of more specific scientific or taxonomical differences, but in brief, the main difference is that antlers grow very, very quickly and are shed normally, whereas horns take much longer to grow and are actually part of the skull. So it's actually part of the skull and bone growth covered by this fingernail-like keratin sheath. So it's a different structure altogether, or different chemical composition, if you want, than the antlers. That is also one of the major differences between deer and antelope. As you can see from the habitat around us, it is quite lush, quite thick, lots of bush around us, which is why it's great for kudus. They are browsers. They like to eat leaves and small twigs. We are going into a riverbed, and this is the same riverbed that feeds the waterhole in front of Aretusa. So I haven't found that elephant that they said, one of the guides said was heading up towards the airstrip. But maybe that elephant was heading for the waterhole, so we'll go have a look. Beautiful area, this, just as I said, very thick, very lush, but also big trees, because this is where the water comes through when it rains. Always very exciting. There could be an elephant anywhere, or a leopard anywhere. Let's go have a look. We're around the corner from the waterhole. Elephants! Hey! Let's go have a look. It's a little breeding herd. I see a young baby, at least one small one there, having a drink. By the look of it, they've only just arrived. You know, if they've been here for a while, you often get them spraying water and mud on them like we saw yesterday. So these guys, I think, has just arrived for their drink. Let's go have a look. This would be the matriarch, the big female there. That's probably the leader of the herd. Let's just roll in here. Oh, beautiful young one. This is right in front of Aratuzza Lodge as well, so stunning view. Afternoon. Hey, it's a beautiful youngster. That not tiny baby we saw on the other day. That I was estimating it around sort of 4 to 6 weeks old. This one's a little bit older, but not much. Probably about 3 months or so. Hear that low rumble there. Maybe the matriarch is saying something to the other Ellies. Come with me, or something like that. Maybe talking to one of these sort of younger ones at the back. That's also a female. That would be the sort of second in charge female, I guess, in this group. Also lactating, so one of those two smaller calves will be hers. Around the other side a bit. Actually quite beautiful, just looking into the tree line like that. We are getting into that sort of later part of the afternoon. I can see the sun getting nice and low on the horizon, so we'll head out the way there. It's actually beautiful. Lovely view. It's now about 25 past 4 in South Africa. Got about an hour or so of sunlight left, so we are actually going into what is generally referred to as golden hour. And the light gets that nice soft color to it. Yellows and golds come out more. Magic for photography. And for activity as well. It's not just the photography, it's all kinds of things that come together during that time of the day. Let me correct myself. During this time of the day, we are now in it. Let's go look around and see what we can find. I think we can have one more closer look at those Ellies. And I want to stretch our legs a little bit further out to see how far we can go. We are also going into a few areas that we couldn't do before. Yeah, a little head shake there. This is a young bull. That's actually a good view with the big trees behind her. Let's sit right here. This is as good as any view. Speaking of which, just to the right of this elephant, let's just have a quick look there for, we were talking about the antlers earlier. That white, there it is. That's a old skull, looks like from an impala. And there you can see the white of the base of the skull, as well as the horns. And that just gives you an idea that it's actually part of the bone growth, different from antlers. Sorry, that was said funny because I was thinking of antelope, which have horns, and antlers for the deer. But you know what I mean. So antelope, here in Africa, strong horns because it's part of the actual skull or part of the bone growth. North America, Europe, the deer, the antlers is a different sort of composition altogether. Don't worry, this is a typical teenager. I do want to try and show you this young calf. Good afternoon. It's okay, it's okay, it's okay. It's okay. Beautiful female, this very good condition. Sorry, I was
trying to get the little one there.
Two different places. Just saying she's in really good condition. We're going to try and get that little one just now. He's just got into the sort of middle of the group again. Look at how amazingly dexterous that trunk is, how very well she's using it to strip the leaves and the finer twigs. Wrapping it around and just stripping the leaves off. It's such an amazing tool for them. That wetness on the side of the face there, it's the temporal gland. They've got literally a gland there that oozes out this sort of oily liquid almost, secretion. And it is something you get a lot with bull elephants where they must, and it's very heavy, but you see it very often in breeding herds. If there's any little bit of stress or even excitement, you notice it on the females, although they don't seem too stressed to me. Amazing animals as well. We were looking at that leopard earlier this afternoon. You know, you can be, as I often am, I just find myself totally captivated or mesmerized even by leopard. But elephants are just a whole different level. You do get that sense of intelligence and that sense of wisdom almost, more than just intelligence. Amazing animals. Then I'm going to try and give you a quick look of that youngster, and then we're going to go over to HT a bit. See what he's finding over towards the east of us. Let's just quickly go around. If we don't get a great view, we'll try later, but I think, yes, I think we should be able to see the little one. Although the little one is being a bit shy as well. It's okay, it's okay. We're not messing with you. We're just having a look. There's a window. A window of opportunity. Ah, almost. We'll try one more time. Ah, I think this is where we'll get our view. Just before you go and join HT for a bit. That one is so small, it's even hiding in the little shrubs. You can't see it. As I said earlier, it's a rough estimate, but I think sort of around the 3-month mark would be close for that youngster. It should come out any second. It should come out any second. Here we go. Oh, too much. Look at that. Waiting for Mum. I'll go into the open with you, Mum. I don't want to go out in the open by myself. Oh. Beautiful. Yeah, 3 months I think would maybe even a bit less. It's actually smaller than I thought. 2 months, something in that region. But that was beautiful. Great female, great herd, great baby elephant. Beautiful afternoon. Looking forward to the rest of it. But for now, we're going to go look around a bit some more, and you are going to drive around with H to enjoy it, and I'll see you back here in a bit.
Folks, we've just pulled up to a water point here with a lot of buffalo in, but when I really noticed, the first thing was these oxpeckers going crazy on this buffalo. Couldn't quite see what it was until this buffalo just stood up. He was lying down in the water a second ago, but on closer inspection I can see that it's a wound on his back there that they're actually utilizing. Now, a little bit about oxpeckers. They do really drink blood in a way, or blood is one of the most important things in their diet, hence the reason why they eat ticks. But interesting stuff. So I didn't want to really move any closer to them because they will all just stand up, and that's not what we're here for on Wild Safari Live. We're here to try and observe animals as best we possibly can, and you know, do it without disturbing them and changing their behaviour. So going closer for me is going to do that. Now we're on the long end of the lens, and what that means is that we're actually zoomed right in as far as we can go. But if I can just give you a bit of a description, he's got a little wound on his shoulder, and how that happened I'm not sure, but that could have been just in a bit of a bout or a bit of a messing around with another male, or it could have been a potential try to be an attack of a predator. It doesn't look like it to me though, right where it is. It just looks like it was like maybe an abscess or something that's just broken or there. But what the birds are doing is utilising the blood. Now, you know, we always think of oxpeckers as a really great help to a lot of the hoofed animals, and they take off the parasites and so on. But sometimes they can be a hindrance when it's a wound like that. They can keep a wound from, you can't quite see it now unfortunately, but they can make an actual hindrance to the healing of the wound, which is a bit tricky for the animal, and the animal can get a bit aggravated by it, and he rolled over in the water a couple of times there as well. But anyway, I just thought we'd stop here. There's a lot of male buffalo here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19 buffalo. Bulls, and they're all males, and this is a bachelor herd or a couple of bachelor groups that have joined up and just utilising this lovely cool water in twin dams. I want to give a little shout out to a school that's watching in London, in Hill House. Peter York class is watching us Wild Safari Live. You're watching us right now in London, and we're broadcasting from Africa. Peter York, thank you so much give yourselves a big round of applause now, guys, for doing this. And whatever your teacher's name, I'm not sure who is the teacher of the class that you're watching now, but congratulations to you for setting that up. And kids, I hope you're watching it and learning loads. I'm sure you just saw some beautiful elephant with Peter, and great to have you on board. All the kids at Hill House in Peter York class. Fantastic, guys. So we've also got a couple of beautiful little birds that have just turned up now, but just we'll just try and zoom in on them now. They're a little bit further away for us. Another common bird, but and at the same time, it's that little black and white bird that's it's called a blacksmith plover, and the sound that they make is much like a blacksmith hitting an anvil, and that's why they're called a blacksmith plover. So whilst you're looking at that, I'm just going to try and find a call for you on my little app, and that way we can have a little bit of a... I still call it the old name, which is blacksmith plover, Plover, but it's now been changed to lapwing, and yeah, that's the official name for the bird. They're a great bird, and I'm just going to play you the call while you're looking at him. So that's that little tiny call. It's a real quintessential African sound that you hear at nearly every waterhole, but a very, very beautiful little bird as well, and they're just hunting around for insects on the shoreline there and anything else they can get their beaks on. But it's a very peaceful, tranquil sort of setting here, water point, a lot of buffalo sitting here. If a predator was to turn up, it might change a little bit, but I think you'd have to be a pretty courageous predator to take on any of these boys, particularly with the amount of that's here. You'd probably find that lion would come down to here. You would find that buffalo would move away to the other side, but they'd probably stand on the other side of the water and just watch the buffalo, and the lion would have a drink. It's a really interesting sort of association that, well, understanding that buffalo and lion love buffalo. It's one of their favourite meals on the menu for them, but it takes a very, very skilled group of hunters, a skilled pride to hunt buffalo. Sometimes they'll be able to take the younger or the weaker buffalo, but for these big boys, they really need to know what they're doing, and you have to see them in action. The big male lions would play a role in that as well. That massive bulk of a male lion, up to 200 kilograms, would be something that would be used in a hunt like that. I probably should explain a bit more, I suppose, about the buffalo. If there's a few questions coming through on Twitter, what's actually going on there? I'll start with what oxpeckers, or these red-billed oxpeckers, do. They've got a cousin, the yellow-billed oxpecker. These are a little bit smaller, so you can see both in this area, but the yellows are a little bit less common. Now, what they normally do is they follow around big ungulates or big hoofed animals like this, and they remove parasites and mites and different blood-sucking insects from blood-sucking parasites from, not insects, but blood-sucking parasites from the bodies of these animals, and they'll go right inside their ears and underneath their ears and under their belly, and it's to the animal's benefit. But these animals actually live off blood, basically, in a sense, that they're getting all their nutrients from the blood of the tick or the parasite that they've eaten. Now, what also happens is occasionally you'll have a wound on an animal, and the oxpeckers find that as just an absolute feast, and they'll go in and start to sort of peck away at that, which might sound a little bit grotesque, but it is sometimes one of the things that occur with oxpeckers, and they will keep that wound open. It can be definitely to the animal's detriment, but it does occur, and you'll find that animals just do find it a little bit aggravating sometimes. So that's what they're doing right now. It's very hard to see, and as I said, I can't move any closer or they'll all stand up. I know the distance, I can feel it. Intuitively, I can feel I'm right in the right spot. There's some beautiful light coming down here at the moment as well. I've got a really, really special hello to say now, and folks, I hope you understand, but this is quite special for me to be in Africa and talking to my son's class. Peter Radnor at Hill House. Hello guys, great to have you on board. Jack, mate, miss you, matey, and I'll be definitely home soon, mate, with lots of stories. But so great to have your whole class watching, everyone in your class. And Mrs. Smith, thank you very much for organising this. It's a brilliant thing to do. And you've got two great questions. Well, you've got a question with two parts, and that's brilliant. Are they dangerous? We'll start with that one first. Very, very dangerous. But I suppose anything can be dangerous, can't it? A little tiny Chihuahua dog can be dangerous, as well as a buffalo or an elephant. It really does depend on how you behave with the animal. So the animal's capabilities are incredible. They could easily hurt you very, very badly. But we would never ever approach that animal, or that invisible distance that we have between the animal now, and we would never make that any smaller. We would either scare the animal or make it run off, or if it didn't run off, it would turn and protect itself. So it's what's called a fight or flight syndrome, and that means that the animal will either turn and face to protect itself, or it will run off, whatever decision it makes. It really does have the ability to protect itself with those massive big horns and the big sheer size of it as well. Have a look at that close up. Maybe we have a look at that one. There's a really big one over there, VM, on the left, next to that one. The second one along, lying down. That's a big bull. You can see the bulk of him there. So kids, if you're watching there, just to give you an indication of how big these animals can get, they can, well, I've read loads and loads of weights on them, but let's say, for example, 850 to 900 kilograms. That's about 10 times my body weight. Yes, I know what you're thinking. You think I'm much heavier than that, but that's very true. About 10 times my body weight is one of those animals. So that's a pretty big beast. And they get up to some serious speeds as well. They're very, very strong. They've got great sense of muscular sort of activity that they can use and they can tap into, and they get up to speeds of about 50, just over 50 kilometers per hour, or about or what's that, about 30-ish, just over 30 miles per hour. But we at school these days, we learn in kilometers per hour, so just over 50 kilometers an hour. I mean, that's pretty fast for a big beast like that. So great question, guys, and really, really lovely to be talking to you. Jack and your class, Peter Radnor at Hill House in London. Great to have you on board, guys. Love you guys. Fantastic stuff. Thanks for calling in. Some beautiful, this animal over here rolling around in the water. These guys are loving it down here. So cool and calm. So we've got a big herd, or a reasonable herd, nearly 20 animals. I find that a reasonable sized bachelor herd, but I think they're probably separate groups. There's one last thing that I'd like to talk to you about before we cross over to Pete. As VM scans around the edge of the pond here, have a look at which direction most of them, majority of them, are facing. Majority of them are facing with their backs to the water and their horns or their face out. And that way, if a predator was to approach, they would see it firsthand, and they would be able to deal with that situation accordingly. So they normally lie in the water with their rump or their butt towards the water, and their head facing out. And you can see how this one's just approaching the water across the other side, VM. It's a youngster, really. but let's see what he does. He might take a bit of time, so if he takes too long, I'll just cross over to Pete. But it's a really interesting thing to look at. All the way along there, they've all got their rumps into the water, and they've all got their heads and their horns facing out. It's a protective mechanism or behaviour that they do to make sure that they're all okay, and they've got lots of eyes facing out. All right, well, that was quite nice. Some great schools watching, some great classes and of kids watching. That's what Wild Safari Live is all about, folks. It's interacting with all different people all over the world, school groups, and if there's any teachers out there watching, I really want to impress upon you, you can do that. I would love to have questions from you. Pete and I love to talk to you. Just send us an email at questions@wildearth.tv, or if you've got Twitter on your phone or on your computer, you can tweet us at #SafariLive. So all you teachers, I know how hard you work. If you can get it together, it would be fantastic to have as many schools on board as we possibly can asking questions. Right, I'm going to sit here with these buffs for a little bit longer. We're going to cross over to Mr. Pretorius and see what he's up to. We'll see you just now.
Well, welcome back this side. I'm sure you enjoyed this buffalo. Twin Dam's also always one of my favorite waterholes. Lovely area. We are exploring a bit further out than we have before. It's now possible as well for us, which is great. We're now in the second windmill area of Baratuza Lodge. We're down into a donga here. A donga. This is a perfect place to explain to you what a donga is. This is a donga. Like a little dry riverbed, but one that's been sort of dug out by the water over time. So it makes like a very big ditch almost. That would be a donga. And you get a good idea. This is where it gets its name from, second windmill. So one of those old school windmills here getting some water out. I'm not quite sure where it's being pumped to, because the water on itself is dry. I must say, I'm quite happy to be driving here and having you on the vehicle with us, because it means we've got signal here. Previously we could get close to here, but not here. So it means the area has gotten bigger that we can drive. That's always exciting. It's always exciting if you've got another donga to check, another riverbed, another waterhole.